great to see you. And if I can say happy Valentine's Day to you.
Happy Valentine's Day to you, Rudy.
Valentine's Day, I think, is probably next to Christmas, is probably one of the most, how do I put it, um, stressful times of the year because I think for a lot of people, sort of in some ways, they're forced to be put in a certain way of looking at their life in a certain way because maybe either A, they may not have a significant other. Some may do have significant others, but maybe the relationship's not going great. And then there's some who maybe are in, great relationships. There's so many aspects to Valentine's Day. I'm curious, what do you think about Valentine's Day, especially when, again, it's supposed to be a day of expressing love to others, but in some ways too, it's an expensive holiday, like I said, like Christmas and the holidays then.
Yeah, so it's really interesting that you're talking about it and using the word holiday. So, I mean, no matter how you think about it, I agree. There's a lot of pressure put upon us to somehow celebrate or recognize Valentine's Day. And it can be a very expensive proposition. So, for me personally, I must say that 364 days of the year, I'm over it. And then as or 360 days of the year, I'm over it. And then when we approach it, I start feeling a little bit anxious and a little bit antsy. And my personal thoughts go to, well, I should do something. I should, buy my significant other, my husband, a card. Do I get cards for my kids? Like, what do you do? And there's so much noise and so much hype out there about Valentine's Day. But I want to just put a different slant on it. So I personally think that to have one day a year where you're really going to go all out to show somebody how much you love them is a ridiculous proposition. Not every right, not every day has to be Valentine's Day. We're not perfect every day, and certainly to have that expectation is it's just not sensical. Um, to do something nice for somebody on a day that's designated for it, I think is also nice, but I don't think that it's a have to. I know a lot of people who kind of are over it and they don't do anything. And in part, that's perhaps a rebellious side to them. I certainly have a rebellious side. If everybody's wearing black, I'm not. I'm wearing yellow or orange or something like that. Well, I'm wearing navy blue today, but I didn't wear red. And I did that on purpose because I don't think, and I must have done that subconsciously. I just don't think that we have to follow the crowd all the time. I think it's really unnecessary. And in fact, I just posted something about that. I think that there's a very dangerous aspect to following the crowd because we lose ourselves and we don't get to make our own decisions. So, having said all of that, I think it's a very nice opportunity that's been presented or made for you to do something nice for somebody else. But yes, there are a lot of people who don't have significant others. There are a lot of people who, are in acrimonious relationships or their relationships are not doing well and they simply don't have the desire to do anything nice or they've lost somebody in and around Valentine's Day. And so Valentine's Day for a lot of people not only brings a lot of stresses and a lot of upsets, but can often come with a lot of emotional pain. And of course, with emotional pain, it's so much easier not to deal with it because dealing with the emotional is painful. So this the opposing aspect to that is do something nice and loving for yourself. We forget about ourselves, especially, in this busy life and these busy lifestyles that we have. We're constantly doing and needing to create the balance. And who ends up losing out? No matter who you are, man or woman, we do ourselves. And so my suggestion for this year is do something. You should always be doing something nice for everybody around you, whether it's holding the door open or sending them a love note or a love text, whatever it is. But this year, do something really nice for yourself, whatever that is. I don't want to go into, the mani pedi or the candles or, but do something nice for yourself. Perhaps say, take some time, sit with yourself and think about where you are in your life, what changes you want to make. How were you yesterday? How can you do better today? What can you do better tomorrow? Personal growth is so important to being good to yourself so that you can be good and better to others.
And by the way, I did read that post. I think people should
Ah,
get on and read that from top to bottom. Don't skip anything on it. I thought it was a very strong and amazing post that you did. So
thank you.
thank you for
Thank you.
doing that.
Thank you so much. That was on Facebook. I've yet
Yes.
to put it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn unfortunately doesn't give me that much room, and sometimes
Yeah.
I get winded and I talk a lot, like I just did. But thank you, thank you.
How do people handle then on Valentine's Day? And I'm looking at now people who are on their own when it comes to, like, for example, you're going to work and there's that other person who's getting flowers or something sent to them by their significant other. Or when you open up, definitely when you open up social media and suddenly everybody's plastering their significant others and professing their undying love. How does an individual handle that kind of, and I'm going to use this term, bombardment at the
Yeah.
moment?
So listen, at the end of the day, we always have two choices: to engage or not engage. And similar to doom scrolling, I don't know, what you call it, social media, fear of missing out, scrolling, whatever it is. But stay away from those avenues that might be triggering or that might be upsetting. I can't even tell you. I constantly tell my clients, to don't get on Facebook, don't get on Instagram. We already know what everybody's eating. We already know, what everybody's doing. And the most important people in your life hopefully will have already told you, what they're up to. So, not to be disrespectful or anything, but honestly, I think for a lot of people, scrolling on Facebook and Instagram are avoidance tactics. It's a way of procrastinating. It's also very dangerous because you are seeing what everybody else is purporting they're doing. And I say purporting because we just don't know what's going on for people's lives. I mean, in those moments where we see these wonderful pictures, they are sharing these wonderful moments that they've had, but I don't know how consistent these wonderful moments are. Nobody does. So my suggestion is always, to stay away from that which might be triggering or might somehow affect you in a negative way. Keep your blinders on, not necessarily keep your head down, but just keep your blinders on and do your thing. Because I think at the end of the day, the most important thing that you could do for yourself is do for yourself.
Absolutely. Now, let's look at another aspect. What if somebody wants to meet somebody? How do they do that in this world? Especially because, again, going back to social media, anybody can present themselves as anybody. So you never know if you're meeting somebody off of social media, if that person is for real. How does the person do that these days? I'm old school. I'm the kind of guy back in the day would, if I saw somebody, I would walk up, introduce myself, and try to start a conversation. If the person wasn't interested, okay, no problem. But if they were, hopefully I've said the right words where we could exchange phone numbers. How does it work these days?
Yeah, I think a lot of life, people have adopted the adage that it's a numbers game. I think to a certain point, it is a numbers game. However, there's nothing that beats an organic mix. There's nothing that beats meeting somebody organically. And there's always a honeymoon period too. You meet somebody on right. You meet right. You meet somebody online, and you're talking to them, and you're talking to them face to face. But there's a point at which, after a few weeks, even a few months, that
Let me jump in. I do believe it's 3 months is usually
months,
when the real person comes out.
yes, 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 yeah. I well, And I like to say 3 to 5 months, because
Okay.
there's only so long you can be on your best behavior for. And then we start learning, okay, this person, isn't really who I thought they were, or, in this context, they handled the situation very well, but, in a different context, they didn't handle a very similar situation very well. So, there's that aspect, which makes meeting somebody on social media that much more mysterious or unsure. My suggestion to everybody is that if you want to meet people, definitely go out. I get the complaint a lot. So I had to think about that, because
Yeah.
people become very disillusioned very quickly. Oh, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go there. It's a waste of my time. I think I hear a lot of this, and I think it's because, people are creatures of habit, and they keep visiting the same places over and over and over again, expecting for a different result to occur. So my suggestion is, go out with a different bunch of people, go to a different kind of place, do something different, step out of your comfort zones, like thinking out of the box. Um, Pursue a passion. For instance, if you enjoy working out, maybe visit a different gym. But just, do something different. And at the end of the day, there's nothing that beats, meeting people organically, and let your friends know that you're in the market to meet people. And perhaps they can suggest somebody. The foray into meeting somebody should never be, I want to meet this person for the purposes of a relationship. That's
Yeah.
too much pressure, because I think that there's something you can learn from everybody that you meet. So who knows?
I want to know, how do I put this? Do pickup lines still work?
Well, I personally haven't used a pickup line for a very, very long time. And quite frankly, if I heard one, I'd probably roll my eyes, and I mean, listen, I think it depends on what kind of person you're talking to and the age group that you're talking to. But again, being old school and being what you see is what you get, and I wear my heart on my sleeve. My suggestion is, if you want to meet somebody, just go up to somebody and said, hey, I saw you from across the room, or
Yes.
whatever it is, and say, I just wanted to say hi. There's nothing that beats genuine, authentic, honest you.
But you brought something up which I think is important. What about with somebody who has been in a relationship for a very long time, and say their significant other passed, or they broke up or whatever, and that person now is maybe not looking like the way they did when they were younger, or dressed a certain way because they were so comfortable with what they were into? How do they make that change to be able to meet somebody? Because sometimes they go overboard, sometimes they don't know what to do. Sometimes, again, when posting pictures, suddenly you're seeing a younger picture of the person posted, and then you go and meet the person, you're going, who is this? Oh yeah, that was my picture 20 years ago. Like, how do you go about that in presenting yourself and who you are, but at the same time hopefully attracting somebody to you?
Right, right. That's a very big problem. And I think that you hit the nail on the head. How do you go about accepting who you are?
Yeah.
That's right. That's the really difficult, deep, hard inner work that we all have to go through as we age. When we're 30, we don't look like we do when we're 40. And I'm 56. I actually, oh, thank you. But I've got gray coming through, and listen, I'm fighting that tooth and nail. But these are the things that we have to, do that inner work about, and accept ourselves, where we are at any given moment in time. And of course, if you're having difficulty coming to terms with that, or your weight, or your emotionality, or you've experienced a loss or a breakup, that's when you call someone like me. That inner work is not easy. And, perhaps, it might even be a better idea to take the pressure off yourself in those moments when you're thinking, gosh, I really want to meet somebody, but I'm not in love with how I look, and I don't like this, and I don't like this. To just pause it and figure out, what it is that you need to change and what it is that you need to work on yourself about. And if you need help, ask for help. There is no shame in asking for help. And in fact, um, that leads me to a great opportunity for me to say I've changed my umbrella from counseling and therapy to coaching, because there's no dark cloud anymore. Not that there ever was, but there's no dark cloud over asking for help when you need somebody to coach or mentor you. Unfortunately, there are so many unnecessary judgments associated with, I need help, or I need to be fixed, or I need to go see a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist. These people are very, very helpful. But you also can find that kind of help in someone like myself. I do bring that experience with me, but under the coaching umbrella, it's just so much easier and so much less judgment. But I want to say that, you know, it's very difficult to eat well and be happy and be content and show yourself as you truly want to be when you're not happy. And so I think we also have to be a little easy on ourselves and give
Yes.
ourselves a little bit of a break.
You just nailed it there too, because a lot of times people, I think, are looking for other people to help make them happy
Absolutely.
instead of being happy for themselves. But also, how do you find somebody who is going to be right for you? And what I mean is, okay, maybe you're in a great relationship. The relationship is, ended in whatever way. And then you're going out looking for somebody. Some people end up trying to find the exact same person. I mean, I'll throw, Kanye West seemed to be looking for a Kim Kardashian twin if you look at the women that he's dated. How do you find what's right for you when you're still not even sure who you are?
Aha. And that's the big ticket. It takes a very long time to get to know yourself. And if you're not spending any quality time with yourself, you're not going to get to know yourself. And so that's where I would say spend some time in getting to know you. Spend some time in getting to tap into, what kind of relationships you've been in the past, and what joy or what pains have they brought, to figure out what it is that you want or don't want in your life. And that's what I refer to as your negotiables and your non negotiables. We all make concessions and compromises in relationships, but if we don't understand who we are and what our ethics are and what our values are, and recognize that we're different people from every relationship that we've experienced, we will end up falling into the same patterns of finding the same people, because we're not taking the time out to really get to know ourselves.
Amazing. I know we're going to be running out of time, but I should be fair for the folks who do have significant others. What would you suggest in making a romantic evening for them? What are some of the things that they can do?
Well, listen, I mean, there's what we all know, going for dinner, going to a movie, the chocolates, the cards, these are all nice things. You can think out of the box a little bit, maybe a charcuterie board at home, some quiet time without the kids, a walk. It's so important to recognize that more often than not, it's quality over quantity. And so, in your upcoming Valentine's Day celebrations, whatever you do, for whoever you're doing it with or for, make sure that you're doing what brings you joy, and don't forget about yourself.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw one other thing in, and this might sound a little chauvinist, but I still think it's important because I've got a good friend of mine who is a florist, and he has said this many times. If she says she doesn't want flowers, don't believe her. Get the flowers.
I
Don't
can't,
wait on it.
I have to agree. I say that to my husband often. Don't bother with the flowers. but I'm always so joy filled when he brings them home.
Absolutely. Lord, thank you so much for this. This has been amazing. Let's talk again as spring comes in, because spring is spring love. And people are always looking for relationships because maybe they've been working on that new body over the winter and things like that. Let's talk again, and let's talk about spring and summer love and see how we can get people together then. Other than that, happy Valentine's Day. I hope you and your significant other have a great time during this romantic day, and all the best to you.
Thank you, Rudy, and happy Valentine's Day to you and to the wonderful audience listening to us today.